You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
You're listening to the Niagara Hockey Lowdown Sabres edition, your source for all news, press conference reactions, analysis, and objective discussions regarding the NHL's Buffalo Sabres from right here in the Niagara region. Here are your hosts, Brandon Caputo and Austin Broad.
How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another installment of our Niagara Hockey Lowdown Sabres edition, right here in the Armchair GM Sports Network, your September 3rd, 2020 edition, your source of North American sports coverage by sports fans, for sports fans, delivered to you right here from the good old Niagara region. Find us on social media for updates, giveaways, and sponsor promo codes every month by following the podcast on Twitter at Armchair GM Pod, as well as this show's podcast at AGM Sabres Pod. You can follow us on Facebook by searching the Armchair GM's Network, and on Instagram by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network. Find us on our main platform, which is Spreaker.com, and the free Spreaker app by searching the Armchair GMs, as well as Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, CastBox, and Deezer by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network. Lastly, check out our beautiful user-friendly website, armchairgmsports.com, for all things regarding our network, including articles, podcast episodes, sponsors, and contributors. Wherever is most convenient if you're listening to us, we're in all those different platforms for you. Please give us a like and subscribe on all those platforms. If you have them, please hit that like button. What are you waiting for? Give us some love over here. And as always, I'm one of your hosts of the Niagara Hockey Lowdown Sabres edition, Cappy. You can follow me on Twitter at Caputs13 with a Canadian Z. And I'm always very pleased to be joined by my co-host for the Niagara Hockey Lowdown Sabres edition. He is Austin Broad. You can follow him on Twitter at Austin_Broad. He is a contributing writer for the ChargingBuffalo.net. Austin, great to have you back here and talking some Sabres here. It's been a dry month here as the Sabres are in the offseason as we await the start of free agency and the draft for our beloved Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah, like you said, it's been pretty dry. Finally starting to see some action pick up, though. We've seen a couple trades lately, maybe just a couple around the league. We've seen Buffalo, make some hires, so Adams looks like he's starting to get a handle on what he wants the team to look like, and maybe that'll lead into him making some moves going forward and starting to shape together what he wants his roster to look like, because, we still have like a month until the offseason officially begins before we can start ramping up our Sabres coverage, but it's nice to get going here every once in a while just to let the people know, what they've missed over the past little couple weeks.
And we are still here. And again, like Austin said, once the Sabres season starts going, we're going to be giving you as much coverage as possible regarding the Buffalo Sabres from here in the Niagara region, where we are your best source in the Southern Ontario region for Sabres coverage. So we want to continue to strive to do that for you here. So on today's show, we're just going to quickly talk about a few things that have happened. We're going to first start off by talking about Dale Hawerchuk, the late, great Winnipeg Jet, Buffalo Sabre, Hockey Canada standout, and most recently the head coach of the OHL's Barrie Colts. So the 5 years he spent with Buffalo are pretty special, so we're just going to touch on Dale and what he meant to this organization. We're going to talk about the new Rochester Americans hire as far as their head coaching vacancy goes, as they relieved Chris Taylor of his duties, which was pretty shocking when that took place. And former Sabre and local Niagara boy, Matt Ellis has been named the Sabres Director of Player Development, so we will also talk about that. And then we're also going to talk about the some positive news of the Sabres, which is the return to the royal blue jerseys. Really fired up for that, as going back to the heritage of the Buffalo Sabres and what got the franchise started as well. Austin has some nice rumors for you as far as the rumor mill, because who doesn't love some rumors with the Sabres here, and some possible things that could go down in this offseason. So you're going to want to stay tuned for that at the end of the show. But with that being said, Austin, let's start the day by talking about one of the all-time greats there, Dale Hawerchuk. And this segment has been brought to you by Carmine's Pizzeria Italiano, home of the best pizza and wing combo in Niagara Falls. Call today, 905-374-4400 and carmine'spizzeria.ca. This month's promo code is Armchair Bacon, 10% off your entire order when you call for call-ahead pickup or delivery. Way too good. So, Dale Hawerchuk, Austin, looking at his stats here on the EliteProspects.com, very underrated 5 years, as we discussed on our pre-show prep here. Very good 5 years that he played for the Buffalo Sabres, in which he was an assistant captain during all 5 of those seasons.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it in, like we talked about, 94, 95, he only played 23 games, so a little bit of an injury-riddled season there. At least 75 games. He had over 50 assists in each one of those seasons, and his season, like his low in points was 86 with the Sabres. Like, just insane production for a guy that, once he left Buffalo, he only played 2 more years. So he was kind of in the twilight of his career, and he was still able to just put up some really good numbers on his way to a nice little NHL career that would eventually lead into him, coaching junior hockey. But yeah, underrated for sure in his time in Buffalo.
Absolutely, and he was one of the main staples of that team when they went to the playoffs a few of those years, obviously with some big names like Alexander Mogilny. Those guys were dynamic. I mean, you look at the point totals, 89, 98, 96, 86 in 4 years. That right there is pretty incredible, and he was inducted into the Sabres Hall of Fame later in the 2011-2012 season. He joined Rick Jeanneret. I was actually at that game. They did that against the Winnipeg Jets. I believe the reason I went to that game was because it was the first game that the Winnipeg Jets returned to play in Buffalo, and that was a good tribute by the Sabres, honoring Dale Hawerchuk with the Jets in town, as the Winnipeg Jets were the team that he was most notable for. He's obviously had his jersey retired by the Jets. He went into the Hockey Hall of Fame as a Jet, so I think that was a great moment for him, being able to be inducted into Sabres Hall of Fame, but as well having the team that he was most remembered for being the opposing team for that. I think that was a very special moment.
Yeah, that's an extremely great tribute for them to do. I mean, I know he played for St. Louis and Philadelphia after, but his 2 main teams were Winnipeg and Buffalo, like you said, and obviously he identifies more as a Jet. Why wouldn't he? He had his success there. He played a majority of his career there, but yeah, that would have been really cool to be there, and that's pretty cool that you were able to be there and get to see him inducted into the Sabres Hall of Fame, which, that's been in the news recently, but we won't really touch on that.
Yeah. It's funny that I brought that up because, it's been 8 years since they've had a meeting. Apparently, the report was this week, which is just a complete nightmare and disgrace in both of our opinions, but we won't get too much into that. But continuing on here with Dale Hawerchuk, great years as a Winnipeg Jet, obviously, and in the 5 years he played with the Sabres, the one was had injury plagued in the last season, but those 4 years were very, very solid and can't be forgotten, especially here in Canada. The Canada Cup in 1988, where he won the face-off, which led to the Gretzky and Lemieux play that we all know and love, and he kind of gets overshadowed in that regard as far as the guy who won that key face-off to start that play.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. Like, when you look at that play, it is the Gretzky and Lemieux play. But, I mean, like you said, that play doesn't happen if Hawerchuk doesn't win that face-off and get Canada possession there. So, like you said, that's a pretty great way to describe. Like, that's a pretty good symbol of Dale Hawerchuk's, time in Buffalo, that play, because he does something that people don't really remember. He's a little bit underrated because of guys like, Lemieux and Gretzky. In Buffalo, like you said, you named off a couple players that he played with. I mean, when you're on a team with Alexander Mogilny, you're never going to be the star. You're never going to get noticed because that's how good Mogilny was. But Hawerchuk just came to work every day and, he produced, and he never really needed to be that superstar guy when he was in Buffalo. And I think that's definitely something that people should remember him for in his time in Buffalo.
And even after his playing career, especially for us, for those fans who don't know, we cover the Ontario Hockey League for the Niagara Ice Dogs in the media, and he has been the he was the head coach of the Barrie Colts since 2010, when he had to step down in 2019 to start his cancer treatment. So we've been able the pleasure to see the Barrie Colts over the years being in the division of the Niagara Ice Dogs, and his teams always are ready to play. They might not be the most talented players, but you know what? Dale Hawerchuk always, wanted and got respect from his players and throughout the entire league. as somebody who was trying to grow the game on a national level, as somebody who's very well respected in the hockey community, and somebody who wanted to give back to young kids trying to pursue their dream of playing in the NHL one day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he had a really solid head coaching career. I mean, the first year he took over for Barrie, they weren't that good, but then he went on and made the playoffs for a couple of years in a row. 5 years in a row he made the playoffs. Missed again for 1 year, and then he only missed the playoffs 3 times in his head coaching career for the Colts. And when you talk about young players trying to make the NHL, like he coached hopeful future Sabre Matej Pekar. I mean, so that's pretty cool that the former Sabre had a potential impact on the future of the franchise, because Pekar had an injured shortened season in his year under Hawerchuk, but he was producing a lot, and he looked like he was developing pretty well in Barrie's system. So it's nice to see that Hawerchuk could still have a future impact on the future of the Sabres if Pekar ends up having NHL success.
That'd be interesting to ask him next season. And it's funny you bring that up, because Hawerchuk was actually one of the main reasons why the Winnipeg Jets took Mark Scheifele in their first draft back in the NHL in 2011. They kind of shocked everybody by taking Mark Scheifele at 7th overall, but you know what? He went on to basically give and help his beloved Winnipeg Jets get their franchise centerman there with Mark Scheifele. So even after his playing career, he still ended up giving back to the Winnipeg Jets in a pretty big way there with one of their cornerstone players in Mark Scheifele.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the season that the Colts had, I mean, they only had 15 wins, but Scheifele had 75 points in 66 games as a draft eligible, as a 17-year-old. Like, that's extremely impressive, and I could definitely see why, his season and his development under Hawerchuk as a head coach would have some influence on the Jets, because we've all known the career that Scheifele has carved out for himself so far, and it looks like he's on his way to a real long, successful NHL career, and Hawerchuk definitely deserves a lot of credit for that.
Absolutely. So, again, big loss in the hockey community, and especially for the Winnipeg Jets, Buffalo Sabres, and Barrie Colts. Just a great player, like you mentioned, very underrated, and a very good human being in general. And Dale Hawerchuk, somebody who will definitely be missed throughout the hockey universe.
Yeah, it's an incredible loss, and thoughts go out to his family. They've been handling it as well as they can, and I know. Hawerchuk played under his dad for a couple of years in Barrie, and that's just something that he'll never forget.
And I'm sure Barrie will be playing with heavy hearts going into this next season with the head coach that never wanted to leave them, but had to for his treatment. So Dale Hawerchuk gone too soon, and I think it takes. So unfortunately, sometimes it takes a death for people to really realize and appreciate how good somebody was. And I think Dale Hawerchuk exemplifies that as somebody that was very underappreciated and undervalued, although as a Hockey Hall of Famer and a Sabres Hall of Famer as well. Just a very, very solid career and solid human being in Dale Hawerchuk. Thoughts and prayers go out to his family and friends. With that being said, let's quickly touch on the royal blue jerseys, Austin here. And that was something that was, we don't get much positive news from the Sabres these days, but this was something real interesting. And before that, Custom PPE is Canada's leading face mask provider. Best prices and quickest turnaround in Canada, built from right here in the Niagara region. Order today, customppe.ca. Use code Armchair at checkout for 20% off your entire order. Again, customppe.ca. So we've got the royal blue jerseys are coming back, Austin, the blue and the white jerseys. And apparently the Sabres are trying to get special permission to play or to use their white jerseys at home, which the NHL has tried to stay away from. They want the darks to be played at home, although the Sabres got granted exceptional status last year for their 50th anniversary season with their gold white jerseys. So I'm not sure if they're going to get that type of exemption going forward, but very nice tribute to the basically the start of the franchise in 1970, going back to this color, and I think it's been at least I've seen about 90 to 95% positive.
Yeah, absolutely, and I don't know 100%, but I think Tom Dundon tried to do the same with Carolina when they released their new white uniforms that say Canes on it. He wanted to wear white at home, and I think they allowed him to wear it. I can't remember how many times, but I think you'll see something like that with the Sabres. Well, they'll be allowed to wear whites at home for a chunk of games, but I don't think there'd be any way that the NHL would allow them to wear whites.
Yeah,
for every home
game. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, but yeah, like you said, 95% positive. I mean, when you look at the jerseys, it's pretty much what fans have been asking for, and I'm sure this just because that's the way the fan base has become. We've become cynical over the years that they're probably saying, well, it's a couple years too late, but at least they did it, I guess. But like you said, just take it as a positive. Like it's something. Like the team is not good. The team's not playing right now. It's something to be happy about. And the white jersey is arguably probably top 2 to 3 jersey in the entire league. And while some people might not like him, I'm a real big fan of the blue jerseys as well. So,
yep, going back to the royal blue. And those Leaf fans saying that we copied their color as well. Go back to the start of our franchise. I don't think we wanted to copy anything with the Leafs. But here's what it says on the Sabres website. Design goals. Our goal throughout the process has been to create a timeless uniform system that respects team heritage and looks boldly towards the future. Returning to our beloved royal blue was just the start. We wanted to create something truly unique. To do that, we needed to identify key elements that what's made the franchise so special throughout the years. Old meets new, the neck detail, the inner neck collar is our way of paying homage to our hometown, touching upon the city of Buffalo's official crest. This team enjoys an unparalleled bond with the community at large, so it felt appropriate to honor the team within the jersey itself. Striping. We want to pay tribute to the striping pattern of the past, but also introduce some new detail. We layered some simple white piping on the top of the gold stripes to accomplish this. In conjunction with Adidas, we developed the white uniform shoulder striping. The final design, the crest and main logo. The crest has been slightly simplified from the original, with silver accents removed to create a sleek, modern appeal. Also, details first seen in the 50th anniversary jersey crest have been carried over to this uniform, most notably the stitching pattern in the Buffalo. So that, again, this is from the Sabres website and what they did with the jersey, Austin. I really like the way that the texture is on the Buffalo itself, on the crest. I actually have the 50th anniversary jersey and it has the same type, so I think it's a little bit of an updated version of the old logo, but still keeping the heritage of the old logo, just kind of like they mentioned, bringing it into a more modern era here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the stitching, like this almost 3D texturized look, was really popular with the 50th anniversary. So I'm not surprised they kept it around. And it just, let's face it, it looks awesome. And like, when you can score an easy win like that with your fan base, you should always do it. The logo is more simplified. That silver accents are gone. They actually increased the size of the logo a bit, so it's more prominent on the crest of the jersey. It's all in all, the jerseys are a huge win for the Sabres organization, and the design team did an excellent job. And the little neckline is a nice tribute to the city of Buffalo. I know they toyed around with some things to try and get that in there, and they ended up going with it on the neckline, so that's pretty cool. And I'm really if you look at the blue jersey, I don't mind the white accent stripes on the gold stripes on the bottom and on the arms. I don't think it looks nearly as bad as some people have made it out to be, but I guess people are going to nitpick because, we haven't had a whole lot to cheer about in the last, 9 years in Buffalo.
Absolutely. But again, this is a big positive for me. I'm really happy with the way that they paid tribute to the original state of the franchise in 1970, but also, again, putting that modern twist on it with the new Adidas jerseys. I really like both jerseys. I'm probably going to get, obviously, the royal blue one. Don't know about the white one. My dad, being an old school Sabres fan, says, I already have the old white jersey, so he's just going to keep his old Pat LaFontaine jersey and probably not get a new one because of the pricing. I will say is probably the only bad thing about it is these jerseys are pretty pricey, so it's going to be difficult to get one at first, but definitely going to have to get the new royal blue one. It's just I don't have a royal blue jersey personally. It's probably the one jersey that I don't have at the Sabres, so I'm really looking forward to getting that. And again, taking parts of what was made that 50th anniversary jersey so great. I really like the way that they were able to kind of bring together the history of the franchise and move it into the new generation here. I'm going to miss the navy blue because I really like that era as well, but I think what they did with the royal blue and showing the jerseys throughout the past here, I really, really like what they've done with the royal blue. My only thing is that are we ever going to get a black and red alternate jersey, Austin?
That is a good question. I'm not too sure. I would like to think that we would, but I mean, it's hard. It's weird because, like you said, your dad grew up with the royal blue. My dad grew up with the royal blue. You and I, our age demographic, we grew up with the red and black. So obviously that's what we want to see. I like to think at some point we're going to get it, but I don't know for sure. I can't say for certain, but that would be pretty cool, at least for the guys and girls around our age, is get to see that nostalgia of the red and black. People want the goat head. I don't even care if it's the goat head. I'd take the butter knives jersey, but just to see the red and black colors on the Sabres again would be, even if it's just for like what St. Louis did with the blue and red and gold. They did it for one night. Even if Buffalo just did it for one night, I think that would be pretty cool. And again, it'd be a nice PR move for the Sabres to get some easy an easy win with the fan base.
The amount of merchandise they would sell with the black and red is ridiculous. Like, I remember they came out with like a few black and red hoodies and shirts for the 50th anniversary last year, and those things sold out like crazy. Like, you couldn't find anything other than a small, and again, I ain't fitting anything that's no small, so I wasn't finding anything in my sizes, so it's crazy how much love there is for the black and red, especially for people like us in their 20s and 30s who grew up in the late 90s and early 2000s with that era of Sabres hockey with the black and red and the goat head. It's pretty incredible, but unfortunately, we might have to wait a bit for that, but until then, I'm really happy, and again, we'll take the positives where we can get them. And for this, the Sabres get 2 thumbs up for me for the new royal blue jerseys and going back to their heritage here.
Yeah, just an absolute huge win. And like I said, I mean, everyone's going to talk about the whites because those are super clean, and that's what, that's the jersey that, for the most part, every team likes their fan base likes their white jerseys. I mean, if you ask the Leaf fans, if you ask Lightning fans, if you ask Bruin fans, they all like their white jerseys. So that's the one that's going to get a lot of attention. But both jerseys, they hit it out of the park, and now it's time. It got them some good PR for a little bit, but once October hits, we'll be wondering who the hell's going to be wearing those jerseys next year.
Yeah, and are they going to be able to play like those great teams in the 70s that made this fan base proud, and are they going to be able to live up to those expectations and kind of move on from what's been going on the last 10 or so years with the unfortunate cursed navy blue jerseys, but we'll have to wait and see with that. So with that being said, guys, we're going to take our first commercial break on the show today, and we're going to come back and discuss a few of the off-ice moves that the Sabres have made in the front office, as well as with the Amerks head coaching vacancy. So we'll be right back here on the Niagara Hockey Lowdown Sabres edition, right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Carmine's Pizzeria Italiano, serving traditional-style Italian pizzas made with the freshest, top-quality ingredients. Loaded subs and their famous chicken wings. Winners of the Reader's Choice Diamond Award, 4 years running from Niagara this week for Best Pizza and Wings in Niagara Falls. Home of the best tray and wing combo in town for the price and quality. Open daily from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m., located on the corner of Drummond Road and Dunn Street. Available for call-ahead pickup or delivery at 905-374-4400. Make sure to like them on Facebook and view their website for their menu at carminespizzeria.ca. Carmine's Pizzeria Italiano, way too good. As we all adjust to this new world that we're living in today, masks are now mandatory, and Niagara's own Custom PPE is Canada's leading face mask provider. Visit them online at customppe.ca and choose between several mask options with different colors and sizes. Add your organization, company, or team logo so you make your face masks unique. Available to purchase online 24/7 at customppe.ca and shipped within 1 week. They have the best prices and quickest turnaround in Canada, and no order is too big or too small. Also offering custom floor stickers as well as face and counter shields for your business or workplace. Visit customppe.ca and use the code ARMCHAIR at checkout for 20% off your custom or blank face mask today. Custom PPE, Canada's leading face mask provider. Attention job seekers, if you are currently looking for work in the Niagara region, you owe it to yourself to check out the services provided by the Niagara Employment Help Center, located at 6100 Thoroldstone Road, Niagara Falls, directly across from the Camisos Plaza. Their free services include resume and cover letter writing, community resource and referral information, local labor market information, job search strategies, assistance with clarifying employment training and career goals, employment counseling and job search support, second career information and registration assistance, and all their services are currently provided by appointment only. So give them a call at 905-358-0021 or visit their website at ehc.on.ca, the Niagara Employment Help Center. This Employment Ontario program is funded by the Government of Ontario.
You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network, the Niagara region's best local source for North American sports podcasting coverage. By sports fans, for sports fans.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Niagara Hockey Lowdown Sabres edition, right here in the Armchair GM Sports Network. Cappy Austin back with you here, and in the first segment, we were just discussing Dale Hawerchuk, what he meant to the Buffalo Sabres and the hockey community in general, as well as talking about the new jerseys for the Sabres coming up this year, going back to the royal blue. With that being said, Austin, let's talk about some of the moves that have been happening off the ice here, and first talk about the Amerks have named a new head coach. Obviously, the firing of Chris Taylor, I think, came as a surprise to a lot of people, as people had viewed Chris Taylor as doing a very good job for the Amerks, being able to develop that team, and they were a playoff team last year in the American Hockey League. Seth Appert has been named the new head coach of the Rochester Americans. He's 46 years old. He has coached the NCAA and international. He has coached at the NCAA and international level since 1997. He spent the last 3 years with the U.S. National Development Program, which obviously has created some great players coming through that program that are now NHL draft picks, and some are now playing in the NHL, where he played a role in developing a record-breaking crop of 17 draft picks, including 8 first-round picks in 2019. According to General Manager Kevin Adams, Seth has a proven track record of developing talent at various levels, and we are looking forward to him being the next head coach of the Rochester Americans. His approach to coaching and leadership on and off the ice is a natural fit with the philosophy Ralph Kruger and I have started to implement as we build this organization. Seth will be an asset to Rochester and to the Sabres organization, and I'm excited to see him succeed behind the benches with the Amerks. So he goes on to say, Seth Appert himself, "It's an honor to become the head coach of the Rochester Americans and be a part of the Buffalo Sabres organization. I know the passion of both fan bases and look forward to help developing players for the Sabres while building on the winning culture in Rochester. I would like to thank Terry Kimpagula, Kevin Adams, Ralph Kruger, yada yada yada, for this incredible opportunity and their belief in me." So what are you thinking about this hire here, and what did you think about him replacing Chris Taylor after the job that Chris Taylor's done with the Amerks in the last couple of seasons?
Yeah, so for starters, I mean, Appert has some shoes to fill in Rochester. I mean, playoff hockey aside, where Taylor and the Amerks struggled, Taylor was an extremely successful head coach in the regular season for Rochester. He, let's face it, they were a really solid AHL team. I think, where the firing comes in, if you're trying to find a way to justify it, is those teams that Taylor coached had a heavy dose of AHL veterans rather than, talent that was going to turn into future Buffalo Sabres, aside from, there's the obvious ones, Victor Olofsson, but, was Olofsson really developed by Chris Taylor? No, he was developed in the Swedish Elite League, where he dominated before playing one season in Rochester and becoming a full-time Sabre. Like, that's where I think the firing comes from. Is it seems that, when you hire a guy who coached the U.S. National Development Program and has a history with young kids, it seems like the plan is, to develop Rochester Americans into Buffalo Sabres. And, Chris Taylor just, not that he couldn't do it, his teams did not have those players. His teams had AHL veterans, and as successful as he was, I think at the end of the day, what I'm looking at is, as a non-Rochester fan, I know Amerks fans obviously have a different opinion, as they should. I would rather see, future Buffalo Sabres in Rochester than, Kevin Porter, Zach Redmond breaking AHL records, because that's great for Rochester fans. But as a fan of the Sabres, I'd rather see guys like Tage Thompson, Casey Middlestad, Rasmus Asplund, those guys get, the playing time and the development in Rochester to eventually help the Buffalo Sabres. So I think that's where that comes in. Appert's track record is, it's not bad when you look at it. In 2017-18, he coached the U18 team for the U.S. national team, and he had Oliver Wahlstrom, Jack Hughes, Keandre Miller, Bodie Wild, Sabres prospect Matthias Samuelsson. So he has those. He's worked with those young guys who turned into NHL players or NHL draft picks. So hopefully that he can translate that type of development and coaching into his head coaching job with the Americans.
Mm-hmm. And again, he coached at the University of Denver his first 9 seasons of his coaching career. Appert will be tasked with aiding the development of what could be prospect laden Amherst roster next season, which you had mentioned that they have had a lot of veterans on that team in the last few years, which I think that it's important to have some veterans on the team to lead the young kids and to kind of show them the way of how to be a pro. But at the same time, those guys shouldn't be the main focal point of your team. It should be the prospects that you're trying to build up into your NHL organization. And again, I think there should be a healthy balance of that, and you shouldn't just be trying to make like an AHL All-Star team of former NHLers who are now at the stage of their career, the twilight, where they are just AHL lifers and guys that are putting up a lot of points in the AHL, but it's not going to help you as far as development-wise.
Yeah, exactly. When you look at the Amherst, I mean, aside from a few players on the forward group, and obviously there was more prospects for the Sabres on the defensive side. The Casey Fitzgeralds, the Will Borgens, those guys, the Jacob Brysons. But when you look at the forward group, let's face it, in Buffalo, when we talk about our team, we don't really talk about the blue line, which can be improved, obviously, but they have the prospects there. They have Jacob Bryson, Will Borgen, Matthias Samuelsson, Ryan Johnson. They have a lot of defensive prospects. It's the forward prospects that are leaving us wanting more for Buffalo. And when you look at the Amherst lineup, I mean, it was a lot of AHL veterans, and Chris Taylor took advantage of it. He was a very good AHL coach. He even had some time as the Sabres assistant coach, but it just didn't seem like that the player development was like they were satisfied with it. And when you get a new GM, he's going to make some changes, and that's what Kevin Adams did. So I know it was shocking to Amherst fans, and I didn't lose any sleep over it as a Sabres fan, because like I said, as long as the AHL team can keep developing our future players, I don't care who's the coach.
And hopefully Seth Appert can bring some of that experience of building those great U.S. national development program teams throughout the years, and kind of develop some of the young players here for the Sabres, as that's been their main problem, is developing their prospects into NHL players. So hopefully he's the guy that can get them to that next level. We'll have to see in the next couple of years what his impact is going to be like on the Amherst and the Sabres both respectively there. And the AHL announced that in July that the 2020-2021 season will start no earlier than December 4th. So we won't be seeing any AHL hockey until at least after the first week of December. So that'll be interesting to see if that starts back up with the pandemic and everything. And we'll move on and transition here to another big hire. And first, I want to give a shout out to J&L Flooring, a Niagara-based specialty flooring and design company. Simplified process of making homes beautiful is their specialty. 905-358-3299 or jnlflooring.com to start today. Also, big Buffalo Sabres fan, so shout out to Jack from J&L Flooring. We have the Matt Ellis becoming the Director of Player Development for the Buffalo Sabres, Austin. Obviously, Matt Ellis is a notable name if you're, even, I guess you could say, a casual Buffalo Sabres fan. He spent a lot of his career here with the Buffalo Sabres in his playing career, and also for those of you in the Southern Ontario and Niagara region here, he is a local boy from Welland, Ontario, so that's also a thing to keep in note as well. He played within the Sabres organization from 2008 until 2015-16 in his last year. Again, that was split between the Buffalo Sabres, Portland Pirates, who were the Buffalo Sabres AHL affiliate up until they moved back to Rochester in the 2012 season. So we have the Sabres, the Pirates, and the Americans from his playing career from 08 to 15-16. He was originally a draft pick of the Detroit Red Wings and played some years for the Grand Rapids Griffins. He was actually the youngest captain in Grand Rapids Griffins history, so a little bit of a interesting note there. Again, he was more of a bottom six forward and had some okay years with the Amherst, but he was never really a guy that was a mainstay in the NHL. He was kind of one of those guys that was moving up and down between the waiver wire there with the Sabres and with the Amherst and Portland Pirates respectively. So Matt Ellis here becoming the player, the Director of Player Development here, Austin. What are your initial reactions to that as it was just named a few days ago?
So I have a few initial reactions. One is, like, when the news came in, I literally sent a message to the Charging Buffalo group with the tweet, and I literally put in quotes, "This is my shocked face," because I don't think there was ever a more obvious move coming based off the GM hire, coming from inside the Pagula organization. It makes sense for them and the direction that they want to go in, that they're going to hire guys from inside the organization already. Matt Ellis is. That sounds like a slight, but it's not. When you think of Matt Ellis, I mean, you look at the way he played the game, stats aside, he's the type of player that you look at and you think, okay, he's going to have a role in hockey operations at some point in his life, because he came to the ice every day and worked. Was he the most talented guy? No, but he knows the game very well. I've had a few years where I did some off-ice work at my cousin's gym, and Matt Ellis was, one of the special guest instructors, and he knows the game really well. He's a smart guy. He talks about hockey, and you listen to him, mainly because he's been there. He's carved out that NHL career. So other than the fact that it's a cost-cutting move for the Pagulas because he's already employed by them, it seemed like a very obvious move that something like this was coming. I'm hopeful for the guy. I mean, Matt Ellis, he's worked for what he's gotten. So to say he hasn't earned the job is just not really fair to him, but he's got a lot of work to do, because what did we just talk about that Taylor struggled with or didn't really have the opportunity to do was develop players. Well, Matt Ellis, you're in charge of player development, so you have a lot of work to do before people can, people are going to put him behind the 8 ball right away because he's a Pagula Sport and Entertainment guy. He worked for the Academy of Hockey. He was already employed by them, but hopefully he does well, and hopefully the Sabres get some development from Mr. Matt Ellis, and maybe the future can start to look a little bit brighter. Who knows?
And you mentioned the Academy of Hockey. This is the second time Kevin Adams has hired Matt Ellis, as he originally hired him to become a member of the Academy of Hockey over there at the Harbor Center. So second time that Kevin Adams has hired Matt Ellis within the hockey universe, I guess we could say. According to Kevin Adams himself, the traits that made Matt a successful NHL player are the same ones that have made him successful in player development in the years since. Adams said in a statement, "It's evident throughout his planning and execution that Matt is passionate about developing young players, and our players will benefit from his approach to the game." So, again, strong words there from Kevin Adams, and really endorsing Matt Ellis as he's kind of gone to bat for him in his previous position, and now in a more prominent position here with the Buffalo Sabres, and hiring him as the director of player development. So definitely big shoes to fill here for Matt Ellis and Kevin Adams, two guys coming over from Pagula Sports Entertainment and with the Academy of Hockey here. So now with the Sabres, it's going to be elevated into another level for both these guys, and both of them are going to have to lean on each other and lean on Ralph Kruger as well in that regard, as it seems like he's still the head coach of the team, but I feel like with the moves that have been made, they're gonna kind of give him a little bit more freedom and say as far as some of the they're not going to flat out say that, but with Ralph's experience with Southampton being the president over there, I think it's pretty safe to say that he's going to have a say in player development as well as some of the roster moves and the roster construction of this franchise.
Yeah, I mean, the Pagulas and Kevin Adams and, Ralph all said it when Adams was hired, is that there was going to be collaboration between everyone on roster development and, roster formation and things like that. So I guess when you look at it, like you said, Adams had already hired Matt Ellis once for a development role with the Academy of Hockey. So, he goes with the comfortable thing. And while people might say, well, Matt Ellis has never worked in an NHL organization, well, he has. He just hasn't worked in an NHL front office yet. Now he has the chance to do it. And like I said, it's hard to reserve judgment on it because we don't know the job that he's going to do. We don't know how good he's going to be at it, but the track record is there. He has played in the NHL. He's worked with the Academy of Hockey, which focuses on developing players, the Buffalo Junior Sabres and everything like that. So him and Adams is putting his faith in Matt Ellis again, and we'll see if it works. I mean, the working relationship that they already have is obviously a positive. But, I mean, there's not much else to say, really. I mean, it's just let's cross our fingers and hope Adams got it right, because Adams has made – I mean, he promoted Nightingale and, he promoted Crow as director of scouting and things like that. But his most two recent hires, Seth Appert and Matt Ellis, they're focusing on the player development side, with the head coach of Rochester and the director of player development. So it seems that Adams was saying the things that he wants to focus on. He seems to be putting plans into place that are backing up what he says. So I take that as a positive. We'll see if that turns into tangible results, though.
And big shoes to fill here, as this fan base for the last 10 years has gotten very impatient here. So, again, it's going to take time, but those guys are going to have to produce, or the fan base is already reacting to these hires. They're kind of off the map as far as guys that you would expect to be in those types of positions, but not for the Pegula's sake, as they, again, like you mentioned, were already employees within the organization and with the Harbor Center as well. So it's going to be big shoes to fill, but hopefully with this new, I guess, regime that's coming in for the Sabres, they can kind of get things going in the right direction here. But only time will tell with that. But just the initial reactions of it are that it's interesting. It's off the map, kind of like the Ralph Kruger hire. So the Sabres trying to go in a direction with that, which with what hasn't worked in the past with current hires and everything, or with hiring already established people within their positions. So it's going to be interesting to see how this new look Sabres front office goes with the COVID pandemic, and like you mentioned, the what are the three words that Terry said in that press conference there? The 3C. I can't remember what it was.
Oh, crap!
I can't. I'm gonna have to go back and look for it, but we'll look at that in the break. We'll come back with that. So, with that being said, guys, we're gonna take our last commercial break on the show today, and we're gonna come back. And Austin's got some juicy rumors for you regarding the Sabres in the offseason, so you're gonna want to stay tuned to that. So, we're right back here on after the last commercial break, right here on the Niagara Hockey Lowdown Sabres edition, and on the Armchair GM Sports Network. J&L Flooring is a Niagara-based specialty flooring and design company. They take great pride in providing elite customer service and support. They are a specialty flooring and decor boutique shop with a beautiful showroom, great pricing, and a wide variety and truly unique selection of products. All their products are environmentally friendly and responsibly produced, so you can feel great about your flooring choices. Their goal as a local business is to build authentic relationships based on honesty and integrity that they foster with respect and authenticity. Offering a unique and wide range of quality products presented by a knowledgeable and patient team, they connect with their customers to simplify the process to make their life easier and to make their homes beautiful. Visit them at 4424 Montrose Road, Niagara Falls, or find out more at jnlflooring.com. Open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. through 5 p.m., and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. 905-358-3299 J&L Flooring. The Spicy Olive Bar and Grill is located on the top of Clifton Hill and just a 5-minute walk from the majestic Niagara Falls. It is conveniently nestled in the heart of the tourist district. A family-owned and operated business, the Spicy Olive opened its doors in May of 2003 and has since been established as an authentic and unique Italian restaurant and bar. Its rustic ambiance and time-worn finishing provide a warm and inviting dining experience. Offering an array of delicious dishes, they specialize in authentic Italian cuisine, homemade sauces, fresh ingredients, and consistently providing a strong foundation on which they build their menu. As night falls, the Spicy Olive shifts to a lively lounge where drinks and live music come together to make a perfect evening. For more than 15 years, they have provided not only for their dedicated locals, but their customers from all over the world with authentic Italian food and great live entertainment. Open daily 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. for dinner and till 2 a.m. for drinks. Check out their new menu and book reservations on their website at Spicy Olive Bar and Grill, it's with an E at the end, .com, or call 905-371-2323 for reservations as well. The Spicy Olive Bar and Grill.
You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network, the Niagara region's best local source for North American sports podcasting coverage. By sports fans, for sports fans.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the final segment of our Niagara Hockey Lowdown Sabres edition, right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Cappy and Austin back with you here. And Austin, during the commercial break, we're trying to find this great Terry Pegula quote. Again, I had the entire notes from the press conference, but I crumpled those up and tossed those out when I found them about a month ago. So, unfortunately, I'll try to look for that as Austin talks to you about some of these juicy rumors going on with the Sabres. But if we can't find it, we'll get back to you with that quote, and that's definitely going to be something that that we'll refer to as a joke on this podcast moving forward. But with that being said, Austin, what are some rumors regarding the Buffalo Sabres? And this segment is brought to you by the Niagara Employment Help Center, helping job seekers find work with their free services and counseling professionals, 6100 Thorlton Road, Niagara Falls, across the Chemisos. Book your appointment today, 905-358-0021 or ehc.on.ca. So, I mean, there's some rumors out there that have been thrown out lately. I mean, not all of them are involving the Sabres, but they could involve the Sabres if the GM is on top of things and is willing to make some smart moves. But the big one that specifically involves the Sabres, I mean, if you're active on Twitter and you're actively engaged in Sabres Twitter, you know who Chad DiDomenicis is of Die by the Blade and his new project, Expected Buffalo, where he does some great work. But his most recent rumor was that Terry Pegula specifically is very interested in the Sabres going after Alex Pietrangelo should he hit free agency, and that he's willing to do whatever it takes to go out and make sure the Sabres get him if he does in fact hit the market. Now, when you hear that rumor, I don't know how you react, Brandon, but I'd love to get what you think about that rumor before I go on with my next analysis. You're leaving me a softball here. And again, let me preface this by saying, as a lifelong Niagara Ice Dogs fan, Alex Pietrangelo is my favorite Niagara Ice Dogs player of all time. I have a game-use practice-worn jersey of him and have a picture of him raising the Stanley Cup for the St. Louis Blues as the captain. But I just don't see, again, it would be great to get a Pietrangelo Sabres jersey. But other than that, I really don't understand how this makes sense for the organization when, again, you need top six forwards and especially center icemen. And I don't know if Alex Pietrangelo wants to switch to a center iceman this late in his career, but unless he's willing to do that, I really don't understand when the Sabres are already basically have to trade a defenseman this offseason with how stacked and how much money they've got invested or are going to invest in their decor. I really don't see where he fits and why he fits in that regard, and I really don't understand it from that standpoint as well. And just they don't need him at this point. Like, obviously, any team would love to have Alex Pietrangelo, but with their given roster and what they have currently on the roster, on the decor, and what they don't have on the top end forward depth, it just doesn't seem like a very smart decision in that regard. Well, two things. I have some good news then, because I'm sure, I don't know if you saw, but did you see the trade that St. Louis made today? Jake Allen to the Montreal Canadiens? Yep. Good trade for Montreal, by the way. I think they got him for a steal because of the fact that the Blues had to kind of dump him for salary cap purposes. Yeah, exactly. I think that was a good all-around trade for both teams because, one, St. Louis believes in Jordan Binnington. That's a whole nother topic, whatever. They cleared out some cap space that will likely lead to another move that is pretty much showing everyone, hey, we're not letting Alex Pietrangelo go. We're going to clear the cap space we need to, and we're going to pay him what he wants, and we're going to keep him. So that's a good thing. The other good thing about this rumor that I took personally was, for anyone who said the Pegulas are broke or are cheaping out or aren't going to spend money, when there's rumors out there that your owner specifically says, I want a star player and I will spend the money that it takes to get him here, I take that as a positive because that means, hey, the Pegulas are cutting costs within the organization off the ice, but this rumor to me says that doesn't necessarily mean they're cutting costs on the ice, which is a good thing because that means that they were willing to spend money and still take on some contracts. Hey, if we don't get Pietrangelo, which they don't need at all, maybe we can go out and get another big contract or a better star player from another team by making a trade because we're willing to pay that money. So while the actual signing of Pietrangelo would make no sense, hearing that Pegula is willing to spend money on improving this team on the ice is still a positive sign for me. That's how I take it, at least. Yeah, again, we did not think that we've been worried about this cost-cutting thing going on through the offseason, the talks about that. But when you hear a guy like Alex Pietrangelo and, maybe Pegula's doing that just to get some positive PR with that, even, once the push came to shove, he was actually going to offer him a big-time contract. We don't know, but the fact that he's willing to be able to spend money and wanting to still spend money on top-end free agents, again, hopefully not another Kyle Opozo situation where he was the best free agent available in a very weak free agency class. Don't really like those ideas, but again, if the right free agent comes up or the right trade scenario happens, which a lot of these teams are going to be, tight for cap this year with what's going on with the cap's not going up and with the global pandemic going on, teams might be making players available available that we wouldn't expect in a normal year to be available. And I think the Sabres really need to, and Kevin Adams as the GM really need to step up here and make a big trade here to bring in a second line center, because you know what? If they don't find a second line center for this team, they might be looking for a first line center after next year, because I don't know if Jack Eichel's going to be able to take this much longer.
No, exactly. And that'll lead me into my next couple of names that have been talked about as not necessarily linked to the Sabres, but just their names being out there on the market. Montreal, there's actually been two of them. It seems for most people that, the impression that most people are getting is that Max Domi is gone. He'll be on the trading block. Not necessarily a center, but a player that, this year had 41 points, a down year for him, but is 2 years removed from scoring 70 points in the NHL. Again, not necessarily that second line center that we need, but he is a good forward to target if he is cheap. And also another interesting name for Montreal that could be a nice stopgap second line center is Philip Deneau. And I know people look at it and be like, well, he doesn't score points. Well, he has 40 points in the NHL, but he's a very effective two-way center. And if Philip Deneau is available, if I'm Kevin Adams, he is my prime target for number 2 center, because that is the literal definition of a stopgap that you will have control of until 2021 or the end of 2021. So you get him for that year where he can be that stopgap, and he is a proven NHL player. I think Philip Deneau would be an excellent trade target for the Sabres, for anyone in the NHL, but this is a Sabres-specific podcast, so Kevin Adams, that is a name that you should be looking at. I don't know if you have any thoughts on Philip Deneau, but I think that if you're looking for a nice stopgap second-line center, Philip Deneau should be at the top of the list now that he's supposedly available.
Solid, underrated, and undervalued player. Even in fantasy hockey, the guy's great because he's a very good two-way centerman. He wins a lot of faceoffs. He puts up a decent amount of points as well, so... You know what? I like Philip Deneau. It's not going to be the sexiest of additions if they get him. And a lot of the casual Sabres fans are going to say, what kind of terrible move is that? But it wouldn't be the worst move in the world. But, I'm kind of hoping for something a little bit better than that. But, again, Philip Deneau is a solid player. And if the Sabres can get him for a decently cheap price and don't have to give up too many assets, I think that's a positive for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we talk about the second line center, which the Sabres definitely need. But when you look at the Sabres roster, the way that it's going, if, all signs are pointing to probably both Johan Larsson and Zemgus Girgensons leaving. So that kind of depletes the Sabres NHL center depth. So they're going to have to look other places, whether it's free agency within the organization. But for a bottom 6 center, a potential third line center, another name that Elliot Friedman threw out in his 31 Thoughts that I think shouldn't cost you much at all, and is a pretty nice third line two-way forward. He can score. He could probably be on your second power play unit, but he's also very good defensively, is Jared McCann from the Pittsburgh Penguins. And like I said, after the Jim Rutherford Kasperi Kapanen fiasco, I'd be calling Pittsburgh every day because it seems like they're just giving away assets that Rutherford doesn't value. So, Jared McCann would be an excellent third line center if in fact it does look like, Johan Larsson is in fact leaving. I think Jared McCann could be not a necessarily even replacement. I think McCann is better offensively, but a little worse defensively. But that would be a nice replacement that I don't know. At this point, you could call it Rutherford and I'll offer him 7th round pick, and Rutherford will be like, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, the way that he's been making trades lately, that Kasperi Kapanen move, I'm sure they'll talk about it on the Leafs edition this week. But just, wow, what a terrible trade for Pittsburgh, in my opinion. But again, Pittsburgh and Buffalo have been trade partners in the past. They made a few trades, and most recently the Connor Sheary and Evan Rodriguez for Dominic Cahoon trade, which is looking fantastic for the Sabres as long as they continue they re-signed Dominic Cahoon and put him in a position to succeed. Seems like that's going to be a great trade for the Sabres in the long run here, and maybe he's an option at center, which Kruger has not yet tried, or Sam Reinhart in that regard. So again, it just seems like the Sabres, like you mentioned, if Girgensons and Larson are both gone, then they're going to lose that 3rd and 4th line center depth as well. So really, you could be looking at 3 new centers on this team coming in into the next season here through free agency or trade.
Yeah, and just to further my point on McCann, because now that Friedman threw out his name, I think it's a real possibility. Like you said, the Sabres and Pittsburgh have that trade history. McCann coming off of his first full season with Pittsburgh, 14 goals, 21 assists, 35 points in 66 games. In terms of your bottom 6 center, a guy that's capable of putting up 35 points, you're not going to ask for much more than that. He's 24 years old. He was a former first-round pick. He's obviously an NHL player, and like you said, there's a real strong possibility that the Sabres need. Well, they probably guaranteed need 2, potentially 3 new centers with NHL capability, and hopefully one of those will be that home run blockbuster trade that no one sees coming. But in terms of smaller, more realistic trades to help round out that depth, I think guys like Jared McCann and Philip Deneau should be at the top of Kevin Adams' list because they're smart, not sexy, but they're smart, underrated moves that would help your team, especially when your second and third line center aren't necessarily even true centermen at this point right now. So we'll see what moves Adams has in store, but there's a couple names out there that, Buffalo is hopefully in on, and I'm sure, the trade bait list came out. Ristolainen's name was on it. Nick Ehlers' name was on it. We already have heard rumors that, at one point Winnipeg offered Nick Ehlers for Ristolainen and Botterill turned it down. Maybe somehow Kevin Adams can salvage that trade and get it done. That'd be a miracle, but you never know. Adams has to start swinging, doesn't have to start swinging for the fences, but he's got to make a couple nice savvy moves, and then he does have to try and hit a home run this offseason to really show people that, hey, I mean business as the GM of the Buffalo Sabres, and hopefully he's up for the task.
He has to establish himself this offseason. It's a big offseason for Kevin Adams, and again, trades can be made now. I mean, any team that's been out of the playoffs can already start to make trades. The Sabres have been out of it since the league has been started back up, so again, Kevin Adams has the ability to make trades with any team that is currently out of the playoffs. Again, Pittsburgh and St. Louis, both teams that were in the playoffs, both have gone out recently and have made trades already. So it's not an excuse for the Sabres to be holding off if they want to make a move. But with that being said, hopefully in the next episode we'll have some more news for you guys, and hopefully this, leading into the draft and everything like that, we'll be able to give you guys more draft coverage as we continue to try to bring you guys as much Sabres content as we can to inform you guys in the Niagara region, you Sabres fans. There's a big contingent of Sabres fans like us in the Southern Ontario region here in Canada, and it's very important to us as well to inform you guys of the Sabres news. So again, hopefully in the next month or so we'll be bringing you guys more Sabres content, and hopefully we'll have a couple of nice trades like Austin mentioned to talk about there. Some of those juicy rumors would be nice, but the Sabres really need to improve on the center ice position and some real savvy trades as Austin mentioned there. So before we wrap up, Austin, anything else you got to mention before we end the show today?
No, nothing too specific. Like you said, hopefully the next episode is going to be a little bit more information. I mean, we're getting closer to the actual official offseason now. I mean, we're probably about a month and a half away from the the NHL draft, and the offseason shortly thereafter that. So it's slowly but surely getting to not summer mode, but basically summer mode, because that's when the offseason will be. It'll be short. It'll be chaotic. It'll be fast. But, like you said, teams can make trades now. So hopefully Kevin Adams can round out his hockey operations staff a little bit quicker and start focusing on the actual on-ice product, because let's face it, as cool as it is to have these off-ice hirings, we don't really care as fans as long as they start putting a better product on the ice. We don't care who's in charge.
Yeah, again, it's been 10 long years of this team, and everybody's getting impatient with whatever moves they make. So hopefully this is the right combination here, and can bring us a winner finally here in Buffalo that we've been waiting for so many years and so many decades and so many generations between us, our fathers' generations, and even generations before that. So with that being said, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Niagara Hockey Lowdown Sabres edition right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Again, stay tuned for future episodes again in the next couple of months. Hopefully we have some special guests on as well, talk about the draft and free agency and things like that. So big things coming to this podcast on the network. And this is your source for North American sports coverage by sports fans for sports fans, delivered to you right here from the Niagara region. As always, I'm one of your hosts of the Niagara Hockey Lowdown Sabres edition, Cappy. You can follow me on Twitter at Caputs13 of the Canadian Z. As well, you can follow my co-host Austin at Austin_Broad, is a Charging Buffalo or a writer for the ChargingBuffalo.net as well. Make sure you check him out. Austin, thanks again for doing this.
No problem, man. Always happy to do it, and can't wait till we can start doing it more often.
Absolutely. And a big thank you to all of our great sponsors who help put us on and support the network, keep the show on the air. Make sure you're checking them out and tell them that the Armchair GM sent you. It's very important to give support to your local businesses during this pandemic and during this difficult time. And finally, to you viewers out there and Sabres fans for tuning in and listening along with us for this episode. And lastly, this has been the Niagara Hockey Lowdown Sabres edition right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network by sports fans for sports fans. We'll see you guys on the next episode.
See you guys next time.